Judy Willis talked a lot about here, and I didn't put it in the handout. She called it here, as in H-E-R-E, here. Here I am. She wants the strategies to be, and she typed it here dash me dash now. And it means that these strategies, she said that they're not going to, if you tell them this is going to help them in the future, they don't really get it. I mean, that doesn't mean a lot to them. But here, like right here, me, and now. So you need to somehow give it power now. Let them see how this is helping them now. Maybe show them, let them build that model that shows that the dendrites grow and get heavier. And show them, you could find a video that'll talk about it, about brains, and that they actually measured them and they were heavier. That's something that's happening right now. If you can help them to see, and just play with things like that. Oh, did anybody figure out what your radish was about?
Curiosity?
Oh, we could throw it. Yes. That's excellent. We can throw it. That's wonderful. I'll throw that. We can throw it.
And it will wake us up if we eat it.
Yeah, the shape of it's like the brain. That's awesome. And we could write about it. Yes, we could write about it. It could give you something that's here. You could taste it. Yeah. Your senses. So this is good. You're getting good ideas, and I want to keep at it. Lunch. Yes, lunch. And I have some apples and peanut butter if anybody wants it. We'll have that for lunch. Yeah, I know. Okay, so enjoying, we're going to keep on to that. Just curiosity, we talked about that. These will increase dopamine. Okay, I've already really said all that. Interacting with friends, laughing, humor, singing, feeling satisfaction, doing a kind act. You know how you feel good when you do something you know is kind? It's dopamine. How cool is that? Reaching a goal and listening to someone read to you releases dopamine. These are, they've shown these in neurological studies. Okay, these, we're going to have these next few slides. A lot of this, these are the things that are going to make your neurons fire together, because you'll be seeing, talking, hearing, touching, moving on purpose with the front of your brain. Just while you're studying, while you're yelling out words or seeing on flashcards, to do stuff like shooting baskets, golf balls, a slinky. I love a slinky. All the kids always mess it up. It gets stretched. But if it's not going to get messed up, just doing things that keep you moving while you're studying is always going to help, and it will increase dopamine. Making a game, making music, making a song, making a dance, using these color-coded foldables. A lot of kids use these a lot in school, foldables. And I used to think you had to buy the book, but if you just Google foldables images, you will get hundreds and hundreds for free of ideas. It's like making flashcards on steroids. This is when I used it all with a business class, just the weighted average cost of capital, whatever that means. And so I color-coded it, and whatever you had to learn, it could be chemistry, it could be ABCs, it could be anything, but you just write what you have to know on every, you're just going to write what you need to know. But the fact that you're making it, you're touching, you're talking about it, you're seeing it, you're using this triangle in your brain, and it just is a lot better. Your brain is going to build stronger connections. Or so anyway, there's lots of cool ways to make foldables, and you can get them for free. Now this is another neat book. It's the memory notebook for nursing. But it's not that you need this book, but a lady who is dyslexic and is a nurse spoke to our group here twice over the past few years, and she said this is what got her through nursing school, and she teaches at West Georgia University, and it's pictures. I show it to when I evaluate, when I teach kids or adults, that just to tell them that you could make pictures about whatever you're studying. You could just draw pictures and put the words, it's whatever, it could be the water cycle, it could be the Civil War, it could be anything, but you're just gonna make pictures and write the words and cartoon kind of sketches. And a lot of kids, especially if they love art, I tell them, you could make this a career. I mean, you just start saving the pictures for subjects, and you might someday publish a book like this yourself. But my favorite one is when they were studying in nursing school. Think about this. They might have to work on promotion of normal elimination. and so they have poop or scoop, and I tell them, what do you think is on that shovel? You want to touch that shovel? and I say, well, why do you think he's wearing a gas mask? And so the words you have to, if you had to remember all this about position, upright, sitting, okay, output, primacy, size, report results, and things like this. If you had to just learn those randomly, it would be harder than if you were just thinking, if you got into your test and you wrote poop or scoop, and you knew you had to have, it would help you to remember those things. You think? A little bit better. This student yesterday told me, one of her teachers in middle school here in Hoover, I just loved what her teacher, I just want to go hug her teacher because she's keeping her kids' dopamine level high. And she taught her that they were studying like Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie. And they had to memorize who, and a lot of other people, how they made their money. And she said, well, Rockefeller has an O in it. He made an O, and that's for oil. So he made his money with Standard Oil. And Carnegie has 2 E's, which will be a good thing to remember because that's hard to spell. And 2 E's in the word steel, which is how he made his money. And how cool is that? You won't forget that. Well, I really didn't quite remember that. But now I do. And just to give little tips and clues, exaggerate. If that's a hard word to spell, exaggerate, but way back when it has 2 G's. That's what it has 2 G's of. And I would say, if I'm exaggerating, I might say, gee. And so it reminds me. Or like dessert and desert. When you think which one needs the 2 S's, and dessert and desert, it's the one you want 2 of.
I remember saying, but when you did my son's evaluation.
Yeah, tell us a little louder.
You may not remember doing this, but when you did my son's evaluation, you did the paper plates, homes, and I have not forgotten the 5 Great Lakes since.
Oh, really? Wow.
It was great.
That's awesome. So let's do that. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, like the Great Lakes. How many of y'all learned the Great Lakes by the word homes? Some of you don't, yeah. So I'm putting just the letters on the plate. H-O-M-E-S. And Sheree, what if you walk this with me? Okay, we're going to first I would have glow map or a big map that we're going to get down the floor and crawl around on it and put blocks or people or something, colored blocks on the Great Lakes and just talk about where they are and touch it, always touch it. Then we're going to walk and we're going to say the names. What if you say them with us and pump them down the line? So if you walk along there, we're going to say, Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, Superior. And the first part of Superior sounds like super. I wonder why they named it super. I'm thinking why might it be called a super lake?
Is it the largest?
Yeah, I think it is. I never looked it up. I'm thinking it is. So yes, I'm just walking on them and then picking them up, saying them again, because you got to pick them up and just say them again as a review as you pick them up. Or something that's really important is helping the student. A memory term I didn't put in here is called chunking. It's been around a long time, but chunking is a big concept in memory where you want to chunk information. That's why phone numbers have 36A, 3 of them and then 4, because we can chunk that many numbers at a time, and it's chunky. But also, if you start seeing parts of words as meaningful, you're chunking. And so dis means trouble with, okay? DYS means trouble with. And the more you know about a word on many different levels, the faster you can read it and understand it. If you happen to know that whenever a Y is on the inside of a word as a vowel, it's Greek. It's from Greek. And if you just know that, every time you see a Y on the inside of a word acting as a vowel, it or E, yeah, well, Andy, that would be said at the end. It, okay, or I, like hyper, and it, like in dis, it's from a Greek word. And so the more you know about that kind of stuff, the more awesome it is. So what if you hold up dis for me? So dis means trouble with, and ia means that I'm talking about something that's in the middle. So what if I had just, and nom means noun or word, like we nominate somebody, name. So dysnomia, if somebody has a stroke or brain injury, they might have trouble remembering nouns, words with respect to nouns. I didn't know this.
I was screaming.
I was thinking. So dysnomia, trouble with words. Dyslex means word. I mean, trouble with nouns and remembering them. Lex means word, so dyslexia means trouble with words. This is what I have. Are you ready? I have. And I even have more trouble. Oh my gosh. Now I have even more trouble with mobile Facebook yet. Like on the cell phone. So anyway, can you tell me what do I have? Mobile Facebook. Yes. And so, but to help, and I also have this one. But we want, if this is chunking, okay, chunking, we want, if just as kids get bigger and bigger words in school, we want them to start seeing and to use, put pieces, like if young children might be just like unhappy, distracted, that's a little higher level, but dis meaning down or away from. And so, or like redo, retie. So it could be on low level, but it could be, high level, like just mobile Facebook. So the more that they appreciate, when they see tech and they know what it means, they can see tech in other words and they have a clue what you're talking about. And this will help big time on like SATs and everything else forever. And it makes you read faster and better. Okay. Now this is especially from Milton Dean. You had his name earlier about videos. He's a great speaker. And I'm actually not going to go through all these. We've kind of talked, because actually, I'm just going to, if you don't mind, we're going to skip that. But it's your job, now I want to talk about the amygdala spa. Are you okay that we skip those? I mean, we kind of talk about them. And I want you to read these books. Milton Dean's books, The Brain Rules. I didn't mention that one. That's a Medina, John Medina, who I had at the beginning. He wrote he's got lots of videos like with brain rules on the internet. They're easy to look at, just videos, plus brain rules and brain rules for babies. Really good. Okay, so the amygdala spa, SPA. Oh, and we still didn't talk about there's something else about it. I'm going to go back, I won't go back in here, but there was something else that, when I said that there were three, I didn't make a big deal of this, there were three main components of the brain that determine where input went. And what were they? Like we have the RAS, reticular activating system, and then the amygdala, and Matthew Paul Cowley, I have to tell you this, instead of calling it, I say it's your job to keep your amygdala happy, but he says, you've got to keep Amy happy. And he's got a lot of coolness, Amy, keep Amy happy. And then dopamine, okay? So do you see something here that might have to do with radish? The rad, yeah, so that's one too. But the ones you told, they were good too, but that was one other reason that I brought it, was rad. But I didn't even make a point that was rad. But Judy Willis, they'll talk about your brain is rad, like radical, because it is. I mean, think about how radical our brain is. It's amazing. And what I like to tell everybody I work with is that God made your brain smarter than all the computers in the whole world. And that's just so true. And I say, they could never build a computer as smart as your brain. And we need to make sure they know this. I want our kids at the end of the day and at the end of homework to be thinking, I've got all that right. I'm good at this. And how often are they not thinking that? If they're frustrated, do you think if they're frustrated, are they thinking, I'm so good at this? And that's what I want them to be thinking, because it makes it all work better. So we're going to talk about these. And I meant to ask you to bring index cards. Well, I meant to bring them to you. I'm really sorry. That's why I needed them. And I forgot them. But please tell me that you'll do this if you need to. I want you to later to get some index cards, and color is always better. I think get color coded. You might have to go to an office supply. And then I'd like for you to write. We're going to have a bunch of self-taught statements on here. Like the girl yesterday, it was just awesome. I had her write these. I had her write, just as at the beginning, I just said, write them as big as you can, different color, just use colored markers, and write things like, I'm good at this. Let's say it all together. I'm good at this. Yeah, and you could put, instead of this, it could be, I'm good at math. I'm good at math. Because you program your brain and it will believe that. And like to say, I love this. I wish Jeannie was here. Jeannie, I forget her idea. When I gave a talk all about the spa, and when she was in medical school, she said, I wish she was here, but I love this. She said she would be taking a course and she would hate it. And she would be struggling, and she would just start saying, I love this. Let's all say, I love this. I love this. And she said she would invariably end up loving it. And it'd be like her favorite course. And she started out hating it. And so this girl yesterday, all during I think it was from 9 in the morning till 6:30 last night, minus lunch. And all day she would say, I love this. And she really did. She said, why can't school be like this? And it was just awesome. And school can be like that, and it can be. So I'm going to want you to print these on cards, because we're going to be programming your brain, and it'll keep your brain open. And this is where these two books, I read these when my kids were little. They're now 30 and 33 years old. We have 3 little grandsons. But they're so good. I've read them again lately and wish I had read them a lot more. Because I could have done a lot better job parenting. I read them back then, but not enough. Predictive parenting is where a lot of this comes from. It was in the recesses of my brain somewhere for a long time. But he talks about that you are programming your brain. This is for us too. How many of you? All of us do. You might beat yourself up if you make a mistake. And you say, "Oh, how stupid," or even if you just say, "That was stupid." I don't even want you to ever say that was stupid, because your brain hears stupid and it thinks, "Oh, I'm stupid." And I don't want to ever say that to myself or to anybody. You want to program your brain to be what you want it to be. Tell it in present tense so that it believes you now. Because if you say, "I'm going to be good at math," your brain will say, well okay, tell me when. Seriously. And so, like Natalie, my daughter, who's 33, who has 2 of our little boys, I've got to tell you, a lot of you have heard this story, but when we both struggled with math, and she would just have hand math. And after I read this book, I kept saying, Natalie said, I love math, or I'm good at math. And she said, no, I'm not. I was trying to lie to her, and I've had people say, well, how can you lie to yourself? And I said, well, no, you really are good at math. Like with Natalie, I said, you can count, right? Can you add? Yeah. And I said, well, you are good at math. There's a continuum from knowing lots and knowing less, but everybody's on the continuum. Nobody knows it all. And so you're good at math. And so I want you to tell yourself this. So she started finally, your brain will fight you. And tell your child, your brain is going to argue with you, because sometimes your brain is comfortable thinking, okay, I can't do math. But if you want to be able to do it, reprogram your brain. So one day, Natalie was going to take a big math exam the next day, and I said, well, Nat, don't you need to study for your test? And she said, no, I'm good at math. It was like, oh. She was like, well, that's better. I didn't really do her quits there. Such a powerful book. I mean, even if you don't have young children, it really is just a relationship book with anybody. How many of you know anybody that makes you feel stupid? That maybe kind of makes you feel kind of awkward, and do you love to be with that person? Right. And in reverse, I do a whole other talk called Social Skills. Everybody needs a friend. I haven't done it in a while, but I'd love to do it again. But one thing I talk about is you want to be that person to other people where you make them feel good. And if you make people feel good, they're going to want to be with you too. And I try to teach that to kids. So then the other one is how to talk, so kids will listen, and listen so kids will talk. It's wonderful too, and it's written like in cartoon form, which is really nice because, a lot of cartoons, a lot of text too, but it gives you examples of how you might tend to say it, like, your room is a pigsty, are you a pig? To say that, or she wants you to say, like, it's not like you, you're normally really neat, you're a neat person, or to point out something that was neat, like, I can see that piece of, I can see that inch of floor, something positive. It's really a great book, and they're both good. How to talk, and it's in listen. And it's in your favorite books part at the top of the list. And the Shutdown Learner is also in the top of the list at the end. The Shutdown Learner is really good. This is a new book. Those are old books. All very good. So for the S in the spot, are y'all doing okay if we take about another 10 minutes or so? Okay, I won't go past time. I intended to. But okay, the S, I want you to write these on your cards later. Every time write, I'm just having trouble with this. This came from Matthew McConaughey in a book by Katie Couric called The Best Advice I Ever Got. And Matthew McConaughey, the movie star, when he was a teenager, he was trying to start his lawnmower, and he told his dad, I can't start it. And his dad said, don't say that, say I'm just having trouble. I don't think he really said I can do it. You don't have to put that on the carpet. I'm just having trouble. Because then that just changed my life. Because up until then, I would be trying to open a jar in the kitchen, and I would just, and I'd say, oh, I can't do it. And I'd hand it to my husband. But ever since then, I've opened every jar. I'll just say, I'm just having trouble. I'm just having trouble. I did it open. And it really works. Because it keeps your brain at it. And to write, like, I'm good at this. I'm good at, you could put things in there or just leave a blank. Nothing is as hard as it seems or as it looks. Either way. A child taught me this. He was taking one of my tests, and it was a complicated, an IQ kind of test. And he kept saying to himself, I don't know who taught him this, but he kept saying, nothing is as hard as it looks. Nothing, let's all say it. Nothing is as hard as it looks. In the school yesterday, taking that same test, we had gone over this before. We do a little of this before we started testing. And just in the middle of this test, it was this real hard design. And she said, it works. And after she did it, she said, I told myself nothing, because at first she panicked. And then she said to herself, she said, nothing is as hard as it looks. And she said, and I got it. And it was really exciting because she said it works. And that was neat. So, and to say, like, I'm a great student, let's all say it. I'm a great student. Or I'm an A student. I'm an A student. And some kids don't want to say that because they say, no, I'm not. And if you don't like that, don't say it. But I tell them, you have an A student brain. You have an A student brain, and this is discouraged. We need to encourage it, and you really, I think you have an A student brain. I'd rather pump them up. But if you don't like the A student deal, you just say, I'm a great student. And this is from Helmstetter, the predictive parenting book. Let's say this one. This is easy and I'm learning fast. And I use that in yoga when they're trying to, do that tree thing and stand on one foot, and I always fall over. And I say, this is easy and I'm learning fast. And it helps me to not fall over. And I just say, I do what it takes.
I do what it takes.
Good. And I want you to be kind to yourself. And say, this was in 2010 when Auburn won the Iron Bowl. It seems like that may never happen again. But this is what inspired a lot of this thought that I've got going now. Because the next day after that Iron Bowl, I was reading the paper and just reading quotes like this. Because if you recall, Auburn was like 24-0. We were losing terribly, but then we came back because we didn't give up. And it was, so I thought, it was executive function, the prefrontal cortex is why we won. And that's cool. So this quote, like this is our guy, Antoine Carter, that ran down Mark Ingram, who was a Heisman Trophy winner, and obviously faster than our guy. But he said, it's having a fight in you to keep going. I want our students to think this way. Even when you know you can't get there, just keep running. When you finish plays, great things happen. Let's say, when you finish plays, great things happen. And I want our students to think that way. Now, this is maybe the most important thing I want y'all to hear, okay, to take to heart, that parents and teachers hold a major key to use positive talk to program your students' brain for what you both want to happen. And there's those books that I just told you about. Like the parent-teacher talk, when the P of the SPA, okay, the S of the SPA is self-talk, like telling yourself those positive things. The P is a lot like it, but I'm calling it positive mistake correction. So when, as a parent or a teacher, instead of pointing out mistakes, I want you to point out what's right. I want, like, say if they bring home a paper and it has like 2 things right and everything else is wrong. And our tendency, I mean, we kind of think it's our job to say, let's fix it. Or to say, like just recently, a young man who I was working with told me that his mom, and his mom is one of my dear friends, and she would never have done this to her. But he said, he's 30, like in his mid-30s, and he said, my mom would always say, when I went on a test, he said she would always say, you knew this? And he would say, you know, he just, and how many, does that strike a chord?
I've been known to say, you're too smart for this, why didn't you get the other questions? Whatever.
Yes, I know, and you know, you mean well. You know, she would, and you mean well when you say it, and she meant well. But like he said, if I had known it, I would have gotten it. And it just kind of crushed him. And I want us to remember that if they, some famous person said this, I don't remember who, that if they could, they would. Because, you know, we get frustrated with them thinking, like I would get frustrated with my daughter, and not my son so much, but with my daughter, and thinking she wasn't trying. And it's not that they're not trying. They may look like it, and they may have given up, sort of, but it's because the funnel, because if the thinking is going to fight, flight, or freeze, they don't have control. So it's our job. I hope that you see that the whole point of the talk today is I really want you to see ways to help them get their thinking in the thinking part and to avoid the fight, flight, or freeze, because they don't have control. Does that make sense? And do you see that what I'm talking about are ways to get it? If we make it fun, if we use our whole body, if we use humor and curiosity, if we go outside and do science experiments, blow up things in the yard. And I bet Nathan, I bet you're good at doing some of these experiments. I can picture. And you know, if we use things that are surprising and fun, like with a child I worked with 40 years ago, and he wasn't talking, and the only way I could get him to talk was I would put his favorite little Mickey Mouse stuffed animal up on the fan blade, and if he would make a sound, I would turn on the fan and it would sling Mickey off. And so the novelty of it, he would say something. He would say, go, or something like go, and it was the novelty. I didn't understand then that was increasing dopamine in his brain, and how cool is that? That's what I want us to be doing. And so, and the other thing about we as parents or teachers, we do tend to think it's our job to point out the mistakes. I mean, and so if you got this, okay, so back to what to do. If you get this test that's all wrong, except for like 2 things right, I want you to say, you got that right. Well, that's good. And if it was just that they wrote their name right, if everything was wrong, you wrote your name so well. I mean, I know it seems funny, but I really am serious, because I want you to keep their brain, keep their amygdala in the dark about mistakes. Keep their amygdala thinking, I got it right. And so you want to tell them, you got that right. And then you can say, now let's check on this, or, because I know it's not like I want you to say, oh, you got it right. But you don't want to say, but. You don't want to say, you got that right, but, boy, you blew it on the rest. Tell them what they did right, not what they did wrong. So if, like I had a high school student one day, the word was invitation, and she read it invention. And that's so typical a lot that they like see the beginning and the end and they just wing it on the middle. And so I said, and I used my physicalness, I said, you got the beginning and the ending right. And then you just pause for a second while the student thinks, I got that right. Because their amygdala is not used to thinking, I got that right. And then, do not say but, and then say like, so you got the beginning and the ending right. Now let's check this part. Let's touch the vowels, and we'll. So we're going to talk about touching the vowels in a second. And she got it. She so much got it. It's just. But practice that. I want you to practice. Say you got the beginning and the ending right. And then say, now let's check this part, or something like that. Or now let's look inside, or let's look up. Let's look this word up. Let's Google this word. Maybe they misspelled. But what? Don't we quickly first go, oh, that's misspelled? Don't we? I mean, we just do. We think it's our job, but don't do it. Say, gosh, you got all of this right. Let's check on this one a second. I'm not sure about this one. Let's check this one. But don't let them feel like they just are not smart. We want them to think they are smart and they'll get smarter. And for the student saying this to themselves, when they make a mistake, be kind to yourself. I've already said that. Show your amygdala what you got right. I want them to say, I got this part right. Now I'll get this part. Or I learned from that. I'll get it next time. I'm good at this. And I want them to know that they are in the driver's seat. They can make this right. These were from some parents that right after they learned this one parent emailed me and said, I find that focusing on what he gets right when reading the long words works wonders. And then another one said, he really wanted to get that, I can't do this attitude going on tonight, but I pulled out the index cards and we read them and he changed, it worked. I was so excited. So that's the cards just saying positive things. And then, awesome, it works. Her anxiety level is really improved. She is my precious student, this is a tutor, that cried when she couldn't do something. No more. And it just works. It really, truly works. And so the A in the amygdala spot is to ask for what you need. In fact, that tutor in Montgomery that just wrote that to me about her being so precious, she did this with a 5th grade student. I'll just tell you what she did. And these people, Dickman, he's a dyslexic international trial attorney and president of the International Dyslexia Association. He's dyslexic. And Rob Langston is dyslexic and has written some books I have on your list called For the Children, a really good book. And Joan Plumley is the tutor, her student. But these are things that all these people, that these two guys both did in college and law school. They would go to their teacher and ask the teacher. And so she had her 5th grader do this. He called his teachers together, which for one thing is pretty impressive, and he said, I'd like to talk to you. And so he has them all seated around him, and he tells them, which is what Dickman and Langston also did in college and law school, he says, I want to make an A in your class, or I want to do my best in your class. I want to learn what you have to tell me. But I kind of get nervous sometimes if I think that you might call on me to read out loud. I don't know if any of y'all are like that, but remember in school there'd be some time you were worried about they were going to call on you. And how much were you able to pay attention to everything? Like not, right? I mean, you're thinking, and you're trying to read ahead to see what are they going to have me do. You're not getting anything else out of the lesson, and so he asked the teachers. He said, if you will promise me, if you will let me sit up front, because I'd really like to sit up front where I can really pay attention and participate. But if you would promise me not to call on me unless I raise my hand to read or to answer a question, I will be able to listen and participate, and I'll enjoy your class and I'll learn. And I promise you in return that I will prepare my work. I'll be here on time. I'll do my best. I'll do my homework. But if you can just help me not to be afraid. So anybody could ask that. And don't you know those teachers were impressed? And he had been making D's and F's at the beginning of the year, and then he was making all A's and B's. You know, it's just awesome. But it's such a win-win situation. And the Matthew effect from the book of Matthew is like the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. If our brain hears these negatives from us or from others, it spirals down like the Matthew effect, the poor get poorer. But if our brain hears encouragement, it stays open and spirals up. And that SPA, self-talk, positive correction, and asking for what you need or advocating for yourself, can reverse the spiral to go up. So I like to ask my students, do you want to be the rich get richer or the poor get poorer? And I always get the same answer. And so an important addition to your visual SPA is like eye contact. I call it an eye bridge. Like if you're talking to someone, it's important to picture this eye bridge. And it makes like this emotional connection with someone. You make an emotional connection when you have an eye bridge. And I will have the student, we'll go across the room and talk about this eye bridge, and that this eye bridge helps us to make friends too, because I say, what if I'm talking to you and I'm not looking, and I'm looking over here, and is this a good eye bridge? Right, and oh my gosh, what happened? And I would draw it on a piece of paper, eyes and eyes, and make a bridge with two lines between them. I say our words are walking across the bridge, but what happened to the bridge when I was this way? It broke. And so I draw the bridge broken down, and all these words that I had put dot words on the bridge, they fell down into the water. And I draw water and an alligator and a shark. And I wish you could see my face. But, you know, they talk about those sharks and alligators ate up all the words. And can you learn if all your words are getting eaten up by the sharks? And can you make friends if your words are all getting eaten up? No. And so I tell them, I want you to be learning so much in school that because you're gluing your eyes to your teacher, that you will, and when you get home, you'll already know it. You won't have to study as much, and you can play. So we want to keep this eye bridge open. And this makes you look strong and confident. And when you're reading also, I want you to make that eye bridge with every vowel. That's like that invitation. If you make an eye bridge with every vowel, long words, you can read them like super. They make a point of just noticing every vowel as you read. And if you were doing it, I'd have you actually touch them. Super, califragilistic, expialidocious. And so many kids would just freak out on that word. But it happens to all those words. If you just go to the vowels, you've got it. And I need to stop at this. It's just important that you eat well, get enough sleep, because it helps your memory, and that you exercise. And on this book is great, Spark by John Rady. He's a psychologist. But like he says, you have the power to change your brain. All you need to do is lace up your running shoes. That's a great book. I wouldn't necessarily buy it, but check it out at the library. And just doing sports, developing your talents, increases dopamine. And just, when you get anxious, I just wrote these about noticing your breathing and just deep breathing. Helps you to calm down, you know, and to like I put down here, to just let yourself think those positive thoughts and to wipe out of the brain. Doing books and movies that are positive are just good. And then you just have the list of books. So, but I so appreciate y'all being here, and I'm sorry that I went to the end. Do you have anything you want to ask or say? I hope that, do you think that did you learn some things? That plan? Yes. Well, please let me hear from you.